Next on BYUSN, one more and done for Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12. What does that mean for the future of the conference and BYU's role in it?
And what's the consequence of men's hoops losing at Pepperdine last night?
Well, it made me feel very, very upset, I can tell you that much. Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Feel like an old man. Hogwash!
Friday, February 10th, I am Spencer Linton. He is Jarom Jordan. We are old men at this point. We can do that. Hogwash! Malarkey!
Let the kids play! On today's show, we make time for Dennis Pitta. I'm being told that he caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. That's pretty cool.
He did.
But that game was so boring they turned the lights off. What would a second Super Bowl win do for the Andy Reid Greatest Coaches Convo? We'll break it down. Y'all going on a cruise with the Cougs? We'll tell you about that. And the nation's #3 blocker in the country, Teon Taylor of the volleyball team, previews the matchups with UC Santa Barbara tonight and tomorrow. But first, today's headlines.
The Big 12 Conference has announced Texas and Oklahoma are now officially leaving the conference to join a 16-team SEC beginning in the summer of 2024. Thus, BYU gets one shot at OU and Texas in conference, and then the Longhorns and Sooners will depart.
In football, multiple shots in a couple other sports, which would be fun. But yeah, 1 year, baby. Let's enjoy it. Former Cougar player and staffer Andy Reid coaches the Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. On Sunday, it's Reid's third Super Bowl appearance. Former Cougars Zane Anderson and Matt Bushman are on the Chiefs practice squad.
BYU men's basketball loses at Pepperdine 92-80.
Why?
92 points. Cougars now 6-6 in West Coast Conference play. That's good for 5th place. Cougars are now 7-7 all-time at Firestone Fieldhouse.
Can we pay the WCC $100 million not to play there? Women's basketball loses 64-63 to last place Pepperdine. More great news. Lauren Gustin scored a career-high 30 points, 16 boards, 50 barbs. Yeah, incredible. Yeah. But who cares? BYU lost. That's disappointing. BYU hosts LMU tomorrow at 4 Eastern on BYU TV. Gotta get that one.
Number 35 BYU Gymnastics will host top 25 foe and MRGC favorite Southern Utah in Provo at the Marriott Center tonight, 9 Eastern, live on BYU TV.
Number 10 men's volleyball hosts number 14 UC Santa Barbara for a pair at 9 Eastern tonight on the BYU TV app, then tomorrow on BYU TV and the app. This weekend marks the lone week of home matches in a 6-week stretch.
BYU softball currently competing in the Puerto Vallarta Challenge in Mexico. The Cougars played 2 yesterday, lost their opener to the North Carolina 2-0, but bounced back to beat Wisconsin out of the Big Ten 1-0. BYU will take on Maryland today at 4 Eastern.
Men and women's track competes at the David Hemery Valentine Invitational today and tomorrow in Boston. Track celebrates 4 days early.
Yeah, why not? Women's tennis will host LMU today at 2 Eastern in Provo, looking to go 3-0 on the young season. Men's tennis will compete in Logan tomorrow against Utah State at 2 Eastern. Good luck to both squads. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. What's Trending, presented by Tim Daly Ford, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Texas and Oklahoma have announced, along with the Big 12 Conference, after paying $100 million to the Big 12 Conference to do so, that they will leave after the 2023 season, which means they will be members of the SEC beginning in the summer of 2024. Jarom, what does that mean for the future of the Big 12 Conference?
It means BYU just got the 1 year, right, to play with Texas and Oklahoma in the various sports. We think about football primarily. Basketball will be fun. Women's volleyball with Texas is incredible. Oklahoma and Texas in softball, incredible. There are a bunch of sports where it will be fun to compete. Now we know. We thought it would be 2 at first. Then it was like, okay, maybe it's just 1. I guess Oklahoma ponied up the money. Texas could always afford it. But now we know. And it was great that BYU got Texas and Oklahoma in year 1 in football. That way, you got them.
The only one of the newbies to do so.
And Oklahoma on senior day will be awesome. And at Texas, of course, is a game that BYU's always embraced, having played there a couple of times in independent. So, yeah. And here's the thing. We know it's going to be super wide open in this league, to the benefit and detriment of the league. The Pac-12 hasn't produced too many playoff teams recently because they kind of eat their own. I think the Big 12 will probably do that quite a bit. TCU had a special run this year, being able to get in undefeated, lose the Big 12 title game. Still got in because undefeated. They were lucky there weren't like 4 undefeateds, but it's hard to go undefeated. Ask BYU in '84. Only done it one time. So it'll be fun to hang out with the rich dad on some weekends, a.k.a. Texas and Oklahoma. And then eventually your parents get divorced and they go move somewhere else. And we kind of move on with our lives. But I'm excited that we know we have the 1 year with those two. Huge brands in college football and basketball and everything else like we talked about. It's going to be fun to have the 1 year. I wish it was 2, honestly. But eventually they move on, and so does BYU and everybody else.
It makes sense. The divorced household figured out how to expedite the paper signing so that the two parts can mutually separate.
Sometimes divorce is good. It's not always bad.
I don't know that it's going to be a great thing for Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC.
Competitively, no. Financially, yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Like Texas needed more money. They're going to be just fine.
I'm excited that BYU gets one shot at all of the Oklahoma and Texas teams to win a conference championship. Specifically, women's soccer and women's volleyball. I'm glad that BYU has the shot at Texas in volleyball specifically.
They're amazing.
Just, for sure. So I'm glad that BYU has one shot to win conference titles with Texas and Oklahoma in conference. That's really fun. I guess my biggest question mark is, what does it mean for the future of Big 12 expansion? We're seeing conferences go to 16 teams now. The SEC with Texas and Oklahoma will be 16 teams. The Big 10, once USC and UCLA depart, will be 16 teams.
Rutgers and Maryland count then?
Apparently.
Okay.
Brett Yormark has said the Big 12 is open for business. He wants to shop knowing that now things are official beginning in 2024 that he only has 12 teams. Now he can go say, well, maybe we do pursue heavily a 16-team conference approach, and they go heavily after 4 teams in the Pac-12.
Or the 4. Oh, in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are the, yes. I want 4. Just give me the 4 corners.
That's what it means to me is it now gives Brett Yormark that much more motivation to go and be aggressive because it's happening. It's happening a year early, so you can go and say with confidence to these other teams, we'll be 12 teams in the summer of 2024. Do you want to make us a 14-team conference? Do you want to make us a 16-team conference?
Oregon, Washington, Arizona State would be the ideal setup.
Yes, because he wants to be publicly stated in 4 time zones. What if Cal and Stanford are interested? Would the Big 12 be interested in the Bay Area?
To me, they're the 5th and 6th best options.
But if it's the only option to get into that Pacific time zone and pull in Power 5 members, just maybe. Arizona and Arizona State have their own time zone, so I don't know if they apply.
6 months out of the year.
5 time zones.
I know. I call my mom and I'm like, "What time is it there?"
I have no idea
I
what
forget.
time it is.
Yeah, I know it's the same time right now. Yeah,
the Big 12 can be in 5 time zones. There's Arizona and then across the board. But yes,
at least it's not Newfoundland, which is half an hour different. I kid you not.
That's real.
It's very odd.
They're the edge of the
province
earth.
in Canada.
Ask Tyler Haas. He played in Newfoundland for a few months. Very special experience for him when you talk to him about it.
What time is it?
It's like 1:30 in the afternoon there.
Right now it's 1:38.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Wild. Oregon and Washington, yes, are absolutely the gems remaining in the Pac-12.
For sure.
If they are interested in joining the Big 12, then that absolutely would happen. Brett Yormark is like, yes, we're up. Come on in.
That'd be amazing.
Let's do this. And bring over the Arizona schools. We're a 16-team conference, and now it gets very interesting. Utah and Colorado are an interesting combination in the Intermountain West. I know that there are people that feel like Colorado should go back to the Big 12 because the roots are there. Like they were a longtime member of the Big 12.
Big 8 and all that.
And we've heard Joel Klatt on Fox Sports, who's a prominent college football analyst, say he believes, and he has talked with, obviously because he's a Colorado guy, that he believes strongly that Colorado is in talks to join the Big 12. But is it a package deal with Utah? And does that mean that the Arizona schools come over? I don't know. But to me, this means that you can just more aggressively approach it. And I think at some point, the Big 12 will become a 16-team conference.
It makes sense.
Probably in the next 3 years. If it's going to happen, it's probably going to happen sometime in the next 3 years.
It's contingent on Oregon and Washington making a move or not.
They want to go to the Big 10, but the Big 10 has not invited them. So that tells me that they probably don't want them.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Does something change? What's going to change? When BYU got the invite, it's because of another domino. So what other domino falls to induce more expansion? That's the question that I think we need to find out, right?
And what does the Pac-12 do? Is this...
All they need is one or two teams leave, and it changes everything.
Then it becomes...
It could get weird.
Really, really...
But if you're Washington State, you're like...
Tough.
Let's just stay here, guys. Oregon State, everything's great, right? Even Cal and Stanford. Cal and Stanford have been less powerful in this conversation than I could have ever imagined.
How about that? You know,
they're not
of like
players in this, really.
And specific markets.
No one's like, dude, we need you two.
You get the Bay Area market. It's like, nah, the Bay Area is a pro sports market. It's not about Cal and Stanford. Have you been to games at Cal and Stanford? It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for those fan bases, and I feel bad for the teams that have to show up and play in front of no fans.
They used to be more competitive in some of the higher profile sports. Obviously, Stanford's athletic program is one of the tops in the country. They're unbelievable. But we're talking about football mainly here.
Really fun that BYU gets OU in Texas for a shot at conference championships for at least 1 year.
Yeah.
And then we see with expansion, but things are absolutely on the move with Brett Yormark in control. That dude is a mover and a shaker. He's a hustler.
It doesn't just move or just shake. It's both.
He is a hustler.
Yeah.
I wish there was more hustle from last night on the basketball court.
I would too. We have to do this? We have to do it. What's the consequence of last night's 92-80 loss at Pepperdine?
Oh, boy. Well, first and foremost, BYU now, if we're being realistic, I think the best they can hope for is a fifth-place finish in WCC.
Top four's
play.
out. Top four's out. See ya. At St. Mary's, who lost last night, by the way.
Yes, LMU beat St. Mary's.
So it's Gonzaga within one game now, but you're going to lose Moraga and Spokane. So top four's out. 5 seed.
It will take something special. It will take a road win against one of the top two teams in conference to put BYU back in a scenario where they feel like maybe there's a shot at a top 4 seed.
And we can't realistically project that right now. BYU just lost to a team that was 0-10 in league until Saturday.
And they needed a miracle to win that game against Portland. They needed a boneheaded play by a guy who lost control of his emotions.
Christian Scholand.
In a late moment, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes all it takes is one win for a team to kind of taste that, and then they get on a run. But BYU knew that. They were an 8-point favorite going in. I had a bunch of people saying, Spencer, you said it was a shocking result. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still shocked by it because they're 1-10.
Because they're 1-10 in the league.
And
why wouldn't
BYU
it be?
is an 8-point favorite on the road. And BYU had just beat LMU by 28 the week before, and it looked great against Pacific. This team, however, we know who they are on the road. We know who they are on the road, which is nothing close to what this BYU team is at home. And until they do something different, that narrative was going to remain. So why should we expect BYU to all of a sudden show up and beat Gonzaga? Though some fans are saying that would be the most BYU thing ever, to lose at Pepperdine and then go and beat Gonzaga.
Listen,
not this
when
team.
BYU beat Gonzaga before, they had some real talent on the squad. There were a couple guys that would dabble in the NBA. Right, in these circles.
Whether it was Haas or Collinsworth.
You just not have that guy on the roster at the moment. Now, in 4 years, is Jackson Robinson a G League? I don't know. But no, this is the least talented Mark Pope team, right? This team is trying to figure some things out. They're gonna flirt with the NIT, maybe not getting it. But here, it's tough. They're trying to battle through some of this. We've seen some real highs. We've seen some real lows. Okay, consequences. 4th Q3 or Q4 loss of the year.
Yep.
BYU the previous 2 years was 26-1. Just didn't lose these type of games. Yeah. Now they're 11-4 this year in those games. Second worst loss by net rating, by the way, as of last night, 207 Pepperdine. South Dakota 312. That is the worst loss of the season, hands down. Don't argue with me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've totally forgotten about that loss.
BYU finishes 6-6 at Pepperdine as a member of the West Coast Conference. So, worst record on the road in league as a member of the WCC. 2-9 in Moraga.
Yep.
And then, 3-8 in Spokane. Got to 3 years in a row, 15, 16, 17, right? And then, like you mentioned, probably going to be a 5 or 6 seed in the WCC tourney. NIT bubble. BYU's probably on the outs of the NIT at the moment. They have to climb in somehow. I looked last night again at last year's NIT. I didn't look at 21 because they did a shortened NIT, and then 2020 didn't have one. And I don't really care about 2019 at this point. There was only one team that had fewer than 21 wins that wasn't an automatic qualifier and not from a P6 league. It was Utah State,
okay,
who had 18 wins. Everybody else that wasn't an automatic qualifier What? There's automatic qualifying? If you're in a non-Power 6 league and you win the regular season,
you're
automatically qualify if you don't win your tourney to get in the NCAA tournament. VCU and Santa Clara had 21 wins, and they got in. Okay. Santa Clara, by the way, was what, the 3 seed last year? The 4 seed?
Yeah.
BYU was the 5, I believe. Yeah,
pacing for that again.
They had a really good year. Oh, by the way, they had a lottery pick in Jalen Williams of the Thunder, who's having a nice rookie season. It's going to be tough for BYU to make the NIT at this point. They got 4 games left, and Santa Clara and San Francisco are the home games. BYU lost to those teams on the road. Maybe they show up at home and win, and I think
they're going to, because BYU is a different team at home.
And then at St. Mary's and Gonzaga. So BYU is going to walk into Vegas probably 18-13 and need at least 1 win there to just maybe make the NIT. And maybe not making the NIT sort of shakes things in a way that BYU needs going to the Big 12. I don't know. I never like seeing BYU struggle, but I've mentioned this before. BYU needed 2017 to get to 2020 and 21. They needed to shake things up to get to those points. Like, you needed a restart. I don't know exactly what that looks like with men's basketball at this point, but certainly BYU needs to increase its talent and prepare itself for the Big 12. Final thought on last night. BYU will never have a loss like that ever again, Spence.
Because they won't have to play a game like that in
the Big 12, you will swallow a loss at West Virginia or Oklahoma or Baylor
Medicine's a lot easier to take
than friggin' Pepperdine.
Yeah.
We will never have a loss like that again.
Oh.
That's the good news. Oh, we'll lose, but it won't be like that.
We obviously hope BYU can string something together special in Spokane on Saturday. That's a tall task.
I'm not doing the shaved head thing.
Back to football for our question of the day. And frankly, back to the Big 12 in general in all sports.
Every day.
How do you feel about Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 in the summer of 2024? At Sapporo Mochan on Twitter says, BYU will now have shorter road trips in the future to Tucson and Tempe.
Hey, there you go.
He's calling for the Arizona schools to join the Big 12.
Yeah. You know what the best league for BYU right now in terms of travel is? It's not even WCC. It's MPSF in men's volleyball.
Oh,
interesting. You go LA, Arizona, Bay Area.
Good times.
Basically.
Yeah. Easy travel.
Nice and easy.
Weigh in using hashtag BYUSN to join the conversation.
Gymnastics competes with the Flippin' Birds, Southern Utah. That's their real name. I'm not joking. If you watch the program, you know. Number 21 in the country, 9 Eastern on BYU TV and the app.
Up next, he's a Super Bowl champ and a friend to at least one of us.
Hey.
Dennis Pitta is back on the show next.
Making time.
Is he taking the Chiefs? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968.
competition is going to be something else. You have to be able to break through those hard moments when it hurts the most.
Whatever you think you are capable of, is true.
You're a fighter. Hold your head up. You know what you're capable of. We're all proud of you.
That's what makes a champion.
Let's go! Wow! This time a four-man rush.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. It is a fabulous Friday, in spite of losses last night. It's Friday. Friday is a great thing.
It's Friday, and I'm in love.
I am Spencer Linton alongside Jarom Jordan, and it is our pleasure to make this an even better Friday. Well, at least
I've been asking, like, we never make time for him, and I'm like, what's the problem? He played in and won a Super Bowl, caught a touchdown pass. It's our homie, Dennis Pitta.
And reveal.
Dennis, what up, dog?
Hey, Dennis Pitta's on the show.
How we doing, man? The second greatest number 32 in BYU history.
What a reveal. Second greatest football player, number 32? Well, Todd Christensen, wasn't he 32? Oh, he was with the Raiders.
Was Todd 33 or 32 at BYU? I think he was 33. So I don't know. You're in the clear, I think.
Was he 33?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're in the clear.
Yeah, I just know you're not number one.
We all know Jimmer was better than me. I mean, because you can totally compare basketball to football. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. It was good to see you.
I was going to say, you guys must be really hurting for content if you're allowing me to come on the show.
Well, this week has been...
What's going on with BYU basketball? Is it a down year, or what's going on?
Okay, you know what? Too soon. Too soon. Let's start with a hard-hitting question.
From last night.
Are you done living at your parents' house yet? I know you're building a house.
Yeah, I'm done living at my parents' house. We moved into our own home.
Yes.
Finally, the Pittas are homeowners. Thank you very much. Feels good. I am currently at my in-laws' house, sitting in the little corner of our guest bedroom right here, because we are in Arizona this weekend. And you're probably thinking, oh, he's going to the Super Bowl because it's in Arizona. No, I'm going to a wedding tomorrow. So I will not be attending the Super Bowl. Here's the thing. When you, play in the Super Bowl and you catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl, I'm not going to just attend the Super Bowl and park with all the other yahoos and battle all that kind of stuff. And sit in the stands. I mean, I've been accustomed to a certain lifestyle at this point, and I'm not going to just go back and just attend a Super Bowl like everybody else.
If you were living in your parents' house, maybe you're with the common folk.
I mean, it might felt appropriate if I didn't have my own home, but now I'm a homeowner, so
yeah. Congratulations.
I'm above all that, of course.
Yeah.
Can we get Dennis Pitta a suite at the Super Bowl already?
I know. My daughter was asking me about it last night. I go,
no way.
I go, Vanna, let's look on StubHub right now. The cheapest ticket's $3,500. Come on now.
Yeah, super cheap.
They're not handing out suites like that at the Super Bowl. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Dennis, can you believe it's been basically a decade? I mean, since you caught that touchdown in the Super Bowl? What? I couldn't believe. I was like, has it really been 10 years since you played in that game? How do you feel, and what are your emotions like every time the Super Bowl rolls around each year?
Yeah, it hasn't felt like 10 years, that's for sure. But I guess the 10-year mark has sunk in a little bit because we've had a number of things this year with the Ravens. We had our Super Bowl reunion, our 10-year reunion. We went out back in October and did a whole weekend where they had a Super Bowl party with all the old members of the team, and they did a whole thing before the game and at halftime. And so we had an awesome weekend being able to get that group back together. And we had everybody out there, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and everybody that was that's since been retired. I think the only guys we didn't have there were some of the guys that were currently playing, which it was Joe Flacco and Justin Tucker is about the only two. So it was awesome to see all of those dudes and guys you don't even remember were on the team. I mean, you have 60-something guys with practice squad and being able to see those old faces and reconnect and talk about all those stories and all that was awesome. So I've had certainly some time to reflect this year on that Super Bowl and the fact that it has been 10 years since that happened. And it's pretty special. And I think every year you get farther away from that game, you appreciate it even more. And being able to look back and realize what we accomplished and understanding how difficult it is to not only make the Super Bowl, but to win a Super Bowl. Because I've got friends that are still in the league and trying to get their first Super Bowl. One of my good friends is Kyle Juszczyk, the 49ers fullback. And they went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago and they lost, and they, you know, looked like they were set to go back this year, and then lost in quite the fashion against the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. But it's just such a difficult game to get into, and certainly one to win. And so I appreciate it every year that this time rolls around and you see these teams battling to get in it, and know that there's only one winner.
The Super Bowl is educational in more ways than one. How would we ever remember Roman numerals without it? And then my question for you is, did you keep the ball? Like in the moment when you catch it, did you give it back to the ref or did you keep it?
So I didn't keep it. And the one thing I regret from that game is that moment, because I caught the ball and I'm not even thinking about the fact that it's the Super Bowl and I want to keep this ball and all that. And so I don't even know what happened to the ball. I chucked the ball, and I'm jumping up on the linemen and they're celebrating with guys. And, you know, I think we took a 14-0 lead or 14-3 lead, something like that at that point. And so we were rolling and we had a ton of momentum. And, you know, you score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, you're not thinking about anything but celebrating. And so I don't know where that ball ended up, but fortunately, I don't have to, you know, think of everything myself. One of our equipment guys went and grabbed the ball for me.
Nice.
Brought it back to our sideline. Awesome. So I have the ball. It's inscripted with the Super Bowl, the logo, all those Roman numerals. We were XLV11, Super Bowl 47.
Yep.
And so that's a lot of Roman numerals.
I know.
There.
I was just looking at them like the X for the L means 40, the V means 5, the I means 1. Yeah.
Is that football?
Yeah, I still don't understand it, but that's what we were.
There's time. Now, is that football the greatest memento that you own in your collection of everything that you have gathered through your professional career and whatnot?
Yes. The greatest, well, no, I take that back. I would say the Super Bowl ring is the greatest memento.
Yes.
Good call.
Yes.
That I have.
Good call.
It's a little bit flashier than the ball, that's for sure. But the ball's pretty cool. I mean, the ball will be proudly displayed in my office once I get everything unpacked.
Once you have
we're still in a state of total chaos at our house. But I do have an office and I have a nice place to display it. So I will. It will be making its way up on the shelf there shortly. But yeah, I would say the Super Bowl ring. I mean, the ring is everything when you win the Super Bowl. And but you know, the ring's more of a team thing. From an individual standpoint, being able to have a touchdown ball and scripted and all that, it's pretty cool.
Do you wear the ring? Do you break it out? Is it in a case?
Like, why don't you have it on right now?
Well, I don't have it with me. It's in California. I'm in Arizona, but I don't wear it everywhere, shockingly. It's not the it's not very inconspicuous. When I have it on, it stands out quite a bit.
Just wear it to sacrament meeting.
It's a little loose too. I think I had it fitted for my right ring finger. And I've lost a little bit of weight since I played, and so it's a little bit loose. My knuckles are less jammed too than when I was playing football all the time. So it's definitely not something I wear all the time.
Knuckle jamming Dennis Pitta joins BYU Sports Nation. In terms of the game this week, who you got, Eagles or Chiefs in this one?
Well, I like the Eagles in this game, to be completely honest. I think I'll be rooting for the Chiefs, so I'm a little bit torn. I lean towards the Eagles because I think the Eagles are better in the trenches. And in games like this, when nerves are high and the execution in the passing game might not be as crisp as you would normally see in most games, or whatever the case, I think the game is always won and lost in the trenches. And the Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in the whole league, if not the best, and defensively on the defensive line, one of the best. And so I think in a game like this, I think the team that controls the line of scrimmage the best is going to win, and that would be the Eagles for me. But again, I'm an Andy Reid, fan, and Mahomes and the style of football that they play is just so appealing and so fun to watch. And so I'll probably be rooting for the Chiefs, but if I'm going to pick and put money on anything, which I'm not, it would be the Eagles.
Dennis Pitta is with us on BYU Sports Nation. It is Super Bowl week, and we have had a number of Super Bowl performers join us, including Chad Lewis, another former BYU tight end. Dennis, we talked to Chad about his emotions, and he was on the losing side with the Eagles under Andy Reid, and he kind of talked about how difficult that was. But he also discussed making the transition from the chaos of the week into the actual game and how difficult that can be. How were you and the Ravens able to do that? With just it is a circus at Media Day. That's the best way I can explain it. It's crazy. But then you got to go play a game and block out all the distractions. How were you and the Ravens able to do that?
Yeah, it's not easy because there's a ton of distractions. And the first week, because you have a 2-week gap between the championship games and the Super Bowl, the first week is very normal. You're at your facility, you go through a normal week of practice, there's not much media. It's a very standard structured week. And then you get to the host site. And for us, it was New Orleans, which in itself is crazy. But you're there, and the first probably 3 or 4 days you're there, it's the media frenzy is insane. And you have these blocked out media times where you're sitting up on a podium and you have millions of people asking you questions from everywhere. I can't tell you how many interviews I did in Spanish. You have all these Mexican TV stations that are up there. And somehow they found out that I went on a Spanish-speaking mission and spoke Spanish. And so I'm doing interview after interview in Spanish. And so everybody that's been on a Spanish-speaking mission or a foreign language mission, you know a lot of terms. They don't play football in the Dominican Republic. I did not know a lot of the football terms in Spanish. So I really struggled in those interviews. And so, I mean, I could have talked about the gospel all day long with those reporters, but they were asking me football-specific questions, and that was very difficult to answer. I did not have the vocabulary in Spanish for football. And so I did a bunch of those. I remember at one point I'm up on the podium, and I have Boy Scouts of America. They're asking me, of course, I was an Eagle Scout. Of course. And so they're asking me to tie all these different knots and all this kind of stuff. At one point I had a wig with purple hair on it. I mean, I don't even know what happened, but it's crazy. Food Network is there asking, like Food Network. I didn't even know they knew what the Super Bowl was over there. And, they're asking you questions on the podium. So it is just crazy. And you also get a sense during that week of how big the Super Bowl is. When you have media outlets from all these different countries, from all these different networks, things that don't even pertain to sports, and they're there interviewing you. I mean, it's a big deal. And so reality sets in a little bit that second week, like, oh, holy crud, this is a big deal. And this is an important game, and everybody's going to be watching. And so it puts even more pressure on you, and your anxiety levels go up a little bit more. And it's a nerve-wracking week for sure. And so you just deal with it. You do it. And fortunately, we did it apparently pretty well. I don't know what our secret was, but we came out and we were on fire at the beginning of that game. And then anybody who remembers that game will remember we went up 28-6. We returned the opening kickoff of the second half to go up 28-6. Had all the momentum in the world. We're ready to just run away with the thing. And Roger Goodell and the NFL turned the lights off in the Superdome.
Pay that bill.
And killed our momentum. And football is such a game of momentum. And so, for 45 minutes, we were sitting on the field with no lights. And the lights came back on. We got a brief period to warm up. And then we were back in the game. And that's when the 49ers grabbed the momentum and stormed back into that game and made it a game. Unfortunately, we held on for the win. But what a crazy – and I've done a ton of interviews the last couple of weeks with Ravens radio people and all kinds of different stuff because, this is the 10-year reunion, like I mentioned before, for that game. And so there's a lot of stories being told out there. And so I was just saying the other day about this game in particular, what was so difficult about that 45-minute delay and just how that game played out is our offense, I think the last time we took the field in that game was in the second quarter with like 2 minutes left, and we were off the field. And then you have an extended halftime because of the halftime show. So a normal NFL halftime is like 10 minutes. This was like a 30-minute halftime, which, 3 times longer, which is crazy. So you have a 30-minute halftime, and then we came out, we returned the opening kick. We were supposed to get the ball back. And then they get the ball. I think they ran a couple of plays. It was third down, the lights go out. So it had been about a 2-hour to a 2.5-hour time period.
Wow.
Between the last time our offense took the field and when we finally were able to get back on. And in the course of a game, especially the Super Bowl, a 2.5-hour time break in a game, like it's a completely different game at that point. And I think that was what was most difficult for us to handle. And so we made a couple of mistakes when we came back out offensively, and I think we had a fumble, and defensively we missed some tackles. Anyways, that game was crazy for that blackout. I mean, I've never been in a game where the lights went out ever. High school, Pee Wee football, I mean, you name it. And in the Super Bowl, in the biggest game of the entire year, the lights go out for 45 minutes. I mean, you tell me what happened.
Wild.
You tell me if that was accident or not.
The conspiracy theorist, Dennis Pitta, with the BYU Sports Nation. As we say goodbye, I'm going to need you to do a couple of things. I'm going to need you to look up encroachment and illegal procedure in Spanish so that you're better prepared for those interviews next time.
I do not know those words. Still today, I don't know any of those words.
I know that touchdowns are true.
Dennis, great to catch up with you.
Encrocho, I think that's what I said.
It's great to catch up with you. Awesome stories. Enjoy the wedding tomorrow in Arizona and the Super Bowl over the weekend. We'll talk again soon, man.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you making time for me.
You got it. He is a Super Bowl champion.
I know. I've been telling the production team, I'm like, why don't we have Dennis on more often? He's great.
Oh, please.
Join Greg, Mark, and Shep 9 Eastern tomorrow as pregame coverage begins at a BYU number 16 Gonzaga. Please, just show up and
compete.
Just show up. Show up, baby.
Can Yoli Child still play for BYU because he's dunking on people again? But this one might be a better play overall than the one against Utah. That's saying something. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Blast.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Those who leave the most meaningful legacy seem to be the ones who never intended to. The same person who loses himself seems to be the same that finds himself. And why? Well, they give the best of who they really are with no thought of return. Find a cause you can put your heart into, my son, in which to lose yourself. I started the Deseret Donor Advised Fund for this reason. Because in the end, my greatest legacy is you.
Before I was a coach at BYU, or before I was even a player, I was a BYU fan.
We've got great energy as a team, but we have even better energy because of our fans, and it's absolutely magical.
When you hear the crowd roar, that makes it more exciting, more of an adrenaline rush.
The roar of the crowd, you can feel it on the floor, you can feel that energy, and it's unlike anywhere else in the country.
BYU Sports, it's all about the fans.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
He is Jarom Jordan. I'm Spencer Linton. You missed our conversation with Dennis Pitta.
It's okay. You don't need it.
I would encourage you to go listen to it.
It was fine.
Let's whip it. Cougar Whip Around presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
It was great. What would a second Super Bowl win for Andy Reid mean for his legacy?
Well, he's already a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
In a strange way, I feel like he doesn't need it to further his legacy, but I mean, it's just.
No, he's used Super Bowls to further the legacy.
Yeah, two is greater than one. But when you're already a first ballot Hall of Famer, like, great. If he wins two, awesome. 2 Super Bowls is greater than one. That's about it.
Couple notes. 13 coaches have won 2+. So he'd become the 14th.
Okay.
He's coached the second most playoff games ever.
That's
Bill
wild.
Belichick.
That's wild.
And he's tied for the second most conference championship games with 10. That's pretty wild.
Maybe he becomes a top 5 coach all time if he wins 2.
I don't know if he cracks that quite yet because there are some incredible names there. But, like, Andy is in that conversation once he gets 2. Like, 1 is awesome, you know, but 2, like, now you couldn't stumble into that, right? You couldn't just be the coach of a team that won as opposed to a great coach like Andy is. Yeah, getting 2 I think is really important and awesome. And again, at some point he passed Lavelle as like a better coach than Lavelle. I know that's like blasphemy around here, but he stood on Lavelle's shoulders and continued to build that.
He'll never say that either about himself.
He'd never say
Ever.
it. But it's really special to see that he has done that at the next level, which has been awesome to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. If he wins 2, then we can have that conversation. Where does that put Andy Reid all time among all of the NFL great coaches? That's a fun conversation. On to the next topic. This is also fun. Yoli Childs produced a magical dunk the other night as part of a fantastic play in a Euro Cup game against the London Lions. My question is, which
dunk on the London?
Which dunk is better? This one in the Euro Cup? I mean, okay? Taking a pass that went through the wickets of a big man, okay? Or is it the epic throwdown against Utah? What do you think, Jarom?
I'm offended by the question. I'm truly offended by the question.
You're offended?
It's always Utah.
It doesn't take much to offend you then.
1, it's a better dunk. And 2, it's against Utah. Like, the dunk itself is better.
Yes.
And it's Utah.
The dunk is better.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, come on. The dunk for BYU against Utah is better. The play overall is better in Euro Cup.
I do love a crisp bounce pass.
Through the legs of a defender, by the way. The pass goes through the legs of a defender.
What? London Lions? Who the beep is that?
Well, they're a professional basketball team, apparently.
Professional?
They're in Euro Cup.
Never heard of them until today, and they
Euro
just
Cup.
got dunked on.
Hey.
Join us tomorrow for Women's Hoops as Lauren Gustin's going to dunk on LMU with a gajillion rebounds and points, 4 Eastern on BYU TV.
Not actually dunk, but...
Maybe.
Okay. Up next, Teon Taylor of BYU men's volleyball joins us. Cougars are on the rise in the rankings. They're back home and ready to win. How much of a home court advantage does the Smithfield House actually provide? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
They prefer to be bringing the heat, getting set for success, demonstrating their drive. But when their blood and sweat turns to tears or anything else, we lay the groundwork for BYU's athletes to hit the ground running again, and you as well. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork sells Ford vehicles including the F-150, the pickup designed for work and play. Tim Daly Ford maintains a large inventory, providing more choices for selecting an F-150 with the power and engineering to carry and tow heavy loads. The F-150's design offers comfort, safety, and a range of options to choose from. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
Imagine living during the Depression. Times are lean, and for many, the road seems long. Like for the Bailey family, whose lives are upended by devastating losses and constant challenges, including opposition within the family.
I will not allow you to take the children away with you.
Join Honey and her children as they navigate their trials with a spirit of hope and gratitude to see them through.
I think everything will work out fine in the end.
Let's go. Volleyball weekend for BYU, who are on the rise in the latest AVCA coaches poll. They're a top 10 team, and joining us now from the top 10 Cougars is one of their elite blockers, Teon Taylor of BYU men's volleyball in Studio B. Welcome to the show, Teon.
Up, Teon.
Thank you, thank you.
I want you to know that when I got ready this morning, I specifically put on my BYU volleyball sweatshirt because I knew that you were headed into studio, man. So I got a rep because, listen, we got to get the karma going for you and the team to keep this thing rolling. It's been a fun season to watch you guys compete thus far.
Super fun.
What's been the best part about it? I mean, low expectations going in from outside voices. Certainly you have high expectations internally, but what's this season been like?
I think that's been the best part of it. You know, everybody outside didn't expect us to really be anything after last year, but, you know, all of us believed in each other, and we've been playing with a chip on our shoulders, and you know, I just love that about the guys.
And it's been fun because if you win both this weekend, you equal last year's win total already. Like we're like out in front of it quite a bit, which is fun. And you've become the #3 blocker in the country. Certainly having 13 and a 5-setter at Irvine 2 weeks ago helps, which is tied for 4th most. 14's record at 13, which is cool. So what is it about this squad that has been so much better than last year?
I think we're bought into what the coaches are saying. And we're just trying to get better each and every day. And we gel together a lot. Like, all the guys love each other. There's no beef between any of us, and that chemistry definitely helps on the court.
But who do you have the most beef with, though, if you did have beef?
You don't have to answer that question if you don't want to. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
I was trying to think of a joke, and I couldn't.
I know, you're like, Jackson 5, that guy. No, everyone's cool with each other, honestly. And go watch, by the way, the video that came out yesterday on social media about the best pickup lines. There were some really funny ones. There were some bad ones, but there were some really funny ones. Yeah.
Okay, well, if we're on that, like, what's the best pickup line, Teon?
I liked Noah's a lot.
Okay.
He was like, my friend over there thinks you're cute. And he just ran all over to where he was pointing.
And he awkwardly waves like this.
Yeah, it was super funny.
That is fantastic. Super exciting to have a couple of home matches. You guys have been on the road for a little bit.
And you're about to go on the road.
Yeah.
3 more weeks.
Go on the road again.
It's crazy.
I've always tried to quantify what home court advantage is worth in the Smith Fieldhouse, because everybody that has not been to a match there and for the first time, they're always like, dude, that was magical. Like, why have I waited so long to go watch BYU volleyball? That was incredible.
I would say that to the fans as well. Like, if you haven't gone to a match.
Right. Yeah, and we say huge home court advantage. But how much of an advantage is it for you as a player? And how do we even quantify that? What does it do for you?
Yeah, I love playing the Smith Fieldhouse because it seems like it's a very intimate court compared to all the other courts, because we play in a lot of like basketball arenas that it's hard to fill the stadiums there, but when we come to Smith Fieldhouse, it's always full. And the fans are always yelling. And it's always cool when, like, I go back to serve, there's always, like, some little kid that's like, go Teon. And, like, it's just, like, little stuff like that always helps. And even when we're away, though, like, BYU travels really well, which I like.
Yep, they absolutely do. Let's talk about your story, which is unique. You didn't play club volleyball. You're like maybe the only D1 guy or something that hasn't played club. You played in high school. You go on your mission. And then BYU kind of saves you a walk-on spot. And then you become a starter last year. You lead the team in hitting percentage. You're #3 in blocks in the country right now. Kind of, how did you get to BYU without playing club? Because playing at BYU requires something, right? Out of high school, typically.
Yeah, and when I walked on, they were the #1 team in the country at the time, too. But, I mean, it all goes back to God and just his plan for me, and just knowing that if I did what I was supposed to and going on a mission, that he would provide for what I wanted to happen in my life, and then not just completely trusting him, but also working as hard as I could to get to where I am today. So combination of trusting in God and then working like he's not even there. So
is it wild that you're in this position at this point?
Oh yeah.
Like, because again, if you don't play club, you're just not on the radar in the same way. But you were good enough in high school, obviously, to have some good film for Sean and the coaches.
I don't know. I think I got lucky with that one too, because my first year here, I was pretty bad compared to everybody else. But you know, I think they saw potential, and I've worked to accomplish things I have.
Now you are in it. You have earned your spot, and you know your role. Was there a moment when you felt like, okay, now I'm here. Now I've made it at BYU?
No, because my goal here is to win a national championship, and I don't think you can say that until you've accomplished that. That's the highest thing we can accomplish in men's volleyball, and until we get there, I haven't earned anything yet.
This team feels that way too, and certainly Sean does, right, of having touched the national championship game several times the last couple of years. We have to talk about Abby. Your wife was the setter on the women's volleyball team last year. Whitney Bauer gets hurt. She sets for like 8 or 9 matches. BYU's fantastic during those. First off, how'd you guys meet? And what's it like to be the volleyball power couple? One of them, right?
Yeah, so we met right after my mission. So my mission got cut short because of COVID, and her college experience got cut short because of COVID. So we were both home in Vegas at the same time. And then I'm sure you guys know Leo Durkin, he used to play here. Well, his little brother was my setter in high school. And like they're friends with like Abby's family. And so we were just playing grass volleyball at a park, and that's how we met.
It's awesome. And now you're married, and she's doing great. She's student teaching now.
Yeah.
Graduated and whatnot, which is exciting.
Yeah.
As you look at what remains on the schedule for BYU, and you've said, like, we want to push, we want to build towards a national championship. There are several steps to get there. So what's the next mini step, if you will, in the progression chart to get to that level?
Yeah, I think it's just taking it one game at a time. You know, you can't look over any opponent you play, and every game, every practice, every rep is just a chance to get better. And we don't have to be the best team right now, but we have to be the best team come the MPSF tournament and the NCAA tournament. So just building each day to get to that point.
Do we need to add a fanny pack to the look? Because it's almost like the rock, early 90s kind of vibe going on. It looks good, man.
Yeah, I like it. You know, I'm not a fan of fanny packs, but maybe the crossbody satchel.
Yes, we'll get the crossbody
satchel.
I like that.
Don't we have one of those? Didn't we give away some of those? I think we might be able to. Well, actually, we can't give it to Teon until he graduates, right?
We just need an
We're not
NIL
allowed
deal.
to do that. Or we
need
can
an
just get an NIL deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine.
Well, thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah.
Good luck tonight against UC Santa Barbara. It's going to be a couple of big matches.
Yeah, definitely. They're a good team.
All right, we're going to give you some karma. Take it, use it, perform at an awesome level, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I would say 14 blocks, but I would prefer it not go 5 and just end earlier. But yeah,
can we just do like 8 blocks in a 3-set
8 blocks
sweep?
in 3 would be really
cool?
nice.
Are we cool?
2 a set is amazing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, congratulations on everything. Thanks again for hanging out.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you can catch Teon and the Cougs coming up tonight, 9 Eastern on the BYU TV app. Tomorrow we're on BYU TV. 2 against UC Santa Barbara, top 15 matchup for the 10th ranked Cougars.
Up next, someone put up a 50 spot in Parbs in our fantasy basketball competition. I'm shocked that it happened in the women's basketball
And
game.
it happens to be that player.
This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Introducing the truck for adventure. The all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier doesn't compromise on power or comfort. This midsize truck was redesigned to incorporate the latest technology and designs for safety, comfort, and convenience. Plus, with up to 6,700 pounds of towing capacity and best-in-class horsepower, it's rugged enough for adventure and still safe enough to transport all your favorite people. Where's your new Frontier? You'll find it at Tim Dowling Nissan Southtown in South Jordan.
As we've spent time working with so many groups around the world, we've learned a lot.
I have really learned the importance of gratitude.
African electrical systems.
Well, I've learned that Kieran actually loves concrete.
The power of cooperation.
But above all,
we've learned the world is a family.
And fixing someone else's problems
ends up fixing my own.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
Programs on demand. You can download the free BYU TV and BYU Radio app, subscribe, rate, and review as well.
Let's update where we stand after the first 2 games of the fantasy basketball weekend. Shocker! Jarom's in the lead after Lauren Gustin put together a career high with 30 points and 16 rebounds. Oh, and that wasn't it. She combined for 50 parbs.
50.
50
burger. Points, assists, rebounds, blocks, steals. So I've got Gustin, Smiler, Rudy, Foose, and Julian Strother tomorrow night. We've got Drew Timme.
Yeah, you've got a 19-point lead going into tomorrow.
Typically, yeah, that's if I have any kind of lead, it's great.
I can't wait for you to win by 40. It's going to be awesome.
You know, a win's a win, whether it's by 1 or by 40 Spence. I take it 1 week at a time on this program.
95-76.
Yeah.
Maybe Nani Falate has a big bounce back.
She could.
Goes for 40. Hopefully Drew Timme does not go for 40. Listen, if Drew Timme has a crappy game and that means BYU somehow, in some miraculous way, wins in Spokane, awesome.
If you said you lose every week for the rest of the season in fantasy hoops, but BYU men's basketball doesn't lose, for what? I'd take
100%.
I don't care. I'd rather BYU win than me win this.
This is nothing compared to the actual games.
It's just for fun. You know what's fun? BYU winning.
Yes. Our question of the day, also fun. At least we think so. How do you feel about Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 in the summer of 2024? Our elite voice of the day presented by PAX, Healthcare Elevated. Blaine Swallow on Instagram says, Texas will jump through hoops to not get hurdled by BYU in Provo.
I see what you did there. Very nice.
Today's Rise and Shout Out presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
Goes to Andrew Reed. No, not the kid that was giant in the punt, pass, and kick competition back in the day.
They spelled his name wrong. It was R-I-E-D.
Andrew Reed. Andy Reid, third Super Bowl for one of the greatest alums in BYU history. Also, good luck to everybody involved. Zane Anderson, Matt Bushman on the practice squad. If they win, I think they get a ring too, even though they're not, 53 in that. But cool to see them. And, of course, Shep going for another insufferable Super Bowl victory. But we love Andy Reid. We love Shep. We love Zane and Matt. So good luck to those.
Is it his 4th Super Bowl? 1 with the Eagles, now 3 with the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean as head coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, as head coach of the Eagles, too, right? He's head coach of the 4th Super Bowl title overall. Or, sorry, 4th Super Bowl game.
4th Super Bowl overall. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right.
Our thanks to today's guests, Dennis Pitta and Teon Taylor.